Hi Priya, how are you? Namaste everybody. Hi. So we're back after a small technical glitch, but now we have more
Hello.
time to listen to more stories. Hello,
Hello.
hi. Yay. Okay, this is perfect now.
Awesome,
So
awesome. Sorry
right,
about that. I think I dropped off at that point.
right. It's okay. Now we have more time to listen to more of the stories. Hopefully, if you have more time. Uh,
Oh, absolutely.
so
Absolutely, absolutely.
perfect. Because I'm sure everybody's enjoying this. There's been such great enlightening conversations. So,
No, no,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
I'm sorry I've been going on and on, but yeah.
No, of course, please do. I mean, so wait, where were we last? Where did we sort of?
I was talking about having like all of these people that I could interact with through Brinda and all, so like Azam Kambata, Sunil
Right.
Parwal, all of
Yeah.
these guys,
Kala Ghoda. Yeah. Huh.
Kalagoda, and all of that kind of jazz. And then being in the design studio where the designer, I finally just told him, you know what, teach me how to use InDesign right now so that you can go take a break. Like the kind of learning that I got from all of these people resulted in actions like that, which allowed me to help people do things better, teach people how to do things better, learn from them better as well. And it really
Right.
opened doors for me. I got to know the gallerists in Bombay and people from Delhi and like around the world, and to also learn that braveness of like let's do something, let's go out there, let's make
Hmm.
something happen. So till today, I have never had a gallery organized solo exhibition. I have put together those
Oh.
solos entirely myself,
Oh wow. Okay. That's a
and
huge thing. That's
yeah. So it like all meeting all of these great people and learning from these experiences really did a lot. And like there are some good ones, there are some bad ones, obviously, and they're both equally important. You cannot
hmm.
disregard the bad ones and say, "Oh, it didn't happen. It didn't happen." Hello, um,
Some
and
students
so
here.
yeah, and so like it becomes really important to absorb all of those experiences and all of those people. Like there was one incident where we were organizing a show, things didn't go very well, but it taught me how to interact with people, how to use my resources wisely, and then at the end of it, we pulled it off and it went off very well. But it was a troubling time. It was a difficult period to work through, and you have to just learn to deal with these things and focus on making sure that you mentally also are able to connect with people, with things, and just look
Hmm.
after yourself. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, right. I mean, applied learning, I've even like in my experience, even as a college student, I've always sort of tried to go out of the way. Like I attended your gallery hops. I've been to, like these different things because my mom's an artist as well. So, I've been exposed
yeah,
to so many different things and learned from like my mom once took me to a tribal village to learn Warli art. And, like all these like sort of small things that really played into how I think today. And I think what you
absolutely.
said is also very true. Like, I mean, you learn on the go, and you're sort of learning through other people, like how they think, how they, work. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure like this sort of education, this style of learning is still continued now because I mean, that's how I feel even I would have learned much better if that's how I was taught in college. Or school for
Absolutely,
that matter,
absolutely.
because there's always that like you spoke before about where you have to make a bad drawing to make a good one later. And I feel
Yeah,
sometimes in college or in school we're always scared of going wrong or always scared of making something bad because there's like so many people around and there's scare of comparison and then there's that sort of thinking, okay, if I make something bad, then, like I won't, like, I'll get shouted at, I won't get good grades or, something like that. And then everyone's always stuck in that. And then you put that unused, like, use this pressure on yourself. And that's sort of, I think, what you have, I mean, stemmed from that. Like, I mean, of, learning how to learn for yourself, I think is really important. And yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, like, this has, like, been a really, like, mind-opening conversation for me as well because
No, no,
like I didn't know
absolutely,
there
absolutely.
was like yeah, it's crazy because like there are it's really nice to see, okay, yeah, there's everybody sort of like doing the applied learning. I'm glad you're a teacher now because more people are going to get to learn this way of learning and just exploring. So
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why I do the workshops I do in the way I do them. So even though it's like 2 hours where you learn one particular style of art or something like that, the focus of it allows for you to make a mistake in a workshop. And that's something I keep reminding people is that when we're doing sessions like that, like those, where you have like 1 hour, 2 hours to do something or learn something, it's a workshop. It's the best place to
Hmm.
screw up. It's the best place to make a mistake.
Right.
Because to
Yeah.
expect that you're going to get a masterpiece out of a workshop is like saying that I'm going to definitely get ice by holding water in my hands in the Sahara Desert. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And the bigger
Yeah,
learning
I
that
mean,
comes from that is expectation itself can lead to damaging outcomes.
right. I mean, like from what I spoke, see, there's another student who's written this
Yeah.
huge comment about you being an inspiration. I mean, there's like not enough words to write about how you've inspired so many people, including
I'm
me. I
glad. I'm
mean, I've
glad.
known you since like a while, since I was a student, and that's really, like helped me become like that's a huge part in the artist that I am today as well. So yeah, I mean
It's
that's
it's
something that's
always
really
nice to
really nice.
see. I mean, even like talking about me being an inspiration for you, like you are also an inspiration for me. When you first showed me your little sketchbook where you were doing these brush pen drawings of people in
Oh
buses,
yeah,
I was just like,
right.
oh my God, this girl is doing so much more than I've ever done at her age.
What?
Just
Oh god, no.
in terms of exploration and trying things and just putting that rigor in, that discipline in, right? You inspired me to get back to doing that. It's very important to just sit somewhere and sketch and draw and make things. Like I've been teaching like our summer school program at ISD for the better part of a month and a half now. And one of the reasons that so I teach a mixed media course in that program, and
Right.
it's something. Give me one second. I appear to be. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I think there's a network issue.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that I teach in that course is mixed media, and part of that is collage. And I figure that if I'm going to be
Right.
teaching these things, I can't just be talking about them and showing like digital images and stuff like that. I need to be doing these
Hmm.
things, which is why I did that to my book, right? I have to be able to tell myself a story through a collage or through an
Oh,
artwork
right.
and give
Hmm.
myself something to do with it. Otherwise, what is the point of me sitting there and teaching a bunch of kids how to do it if I'm not doing it myself?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm
Yeah.
teaching them how to use dry media, then I should be sitting there and showing them how to work with dry media and making examples live in front of them. Right. And
Like demos and yeah.
one of the things that struck me when I looked at my notebook was your notebook, your sketchbook. And I realized
Oh
she's making a
god.
collection of images. Why am I not doing that with this? Which is why I started putting these things into a book. Right.
Okay,
So
that
even
is
if it's
a
an exploration in
crazy.
dry
That's
media,
yeah.
it's still something I need to put in
Hmm.
a book to be able to collect and to like
Hmm.
showcase, right? And these are all
Right.
just simple concepts from Star Wars and things like that, but just the idea of even doing collages
Yes.
like this, like simple, stupid ideas, but it's fun, it's interesting, and it goes in such a way that it really makes you think of what is it that you want to do, like this really bad sketch,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's just a sketch to think about lighting, to think about construction of space, to create a plan for a print, and then because of
Hmm.
that you start doing it more and more, and then you get this sketch, which is this
Right.
print,
And then
which I
turns
showed you earlier,
into wow. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So it's important to look at people around you and what they're doing and understand why they're doing it, and to
Hmm.
get that inspiration as much as you're trying to give it, right? I
Right.
honestly don't sit down on a particular day and say, today I'm going to be inspiring to people. Right? All
Hmm.
I can do is every day say that I'm going to do the best I can today. And if someone sees what I'm doing and gets something out of it, job done. Fantastic. The world will move on in a better way.
Right.
So even if I don't become like the most famous artist in the world and sell for thousands of lakhs of rupees or whatever, at the end of the day, if somebody sees a painting like this, right, and gets
Hmm.
inspired by it and says, you know what, I want to try and paint, or sees a picture like this and kind of just like
Wow. Okay.
finds a
Right.
connection to the character and thinks about something in their life, right?
Hmm.
That's what I'm going for. There needs to be some kind of concept or story. I'll take you back all the way. This is 2008.
Oh, that looks really interesting. What?
This is
Okay, is
this is the
that like
first
a collage?
philosophical painting I ever made. No, this is a painting. This is acrylic on canvas.
Oh, okay, right. Wow, the color scheme's really nice. Like like
It
it's
is,
sort of.
and it's entirely based on the the dialogues between Aristotle and Plato, the consideration of man in a larger world. Right?
Hmm.
So if you're not willing to look at what others are doing and understand why they do it, you're not actually getting inspired. Just seeing someone do something
Hmm.
amazing is not inspiration. Being inspired means that they have
Right.
said or shown something to you that kickstarts a drive in you to want to know more about it.
Want to
That
do
is
it.
inspiration.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very true. I mean, like for example, when when I started sort of, I mean, this is a very silly example, but I've been obsessed with this show ever since school called Bones, which is about a forensic anthropologist, and that sort of really got me into anatomy as a
Yeah.
subject. So I've always been really curious about anatomy in college, and sort of learning how to do portraits well, learning the structure of the body and the bones, and how how to actually draw a face, where the structure lies. And I think that sort of really made me want to focus on that bit a little bit more in college.
Absolutely.
Small things like
Absolutely.
that I think is really nice to get inspired from. Even pop culture, I'm sure. I think aside from Star Wars, you must have a lot of other pop culture inspirations
Absolutely. I
that you
mean,
worked with
I'm drinking tea out of a
and
Doctor Who
Doctor Who.
mug. I mean, that should say
Right,
something. But
that's
yeah,
crazy.
again,
Yeah, that's
Godzilla is one of my like personal favorite things in the world. Right?
right.
In fact, the T-shirt I'm wearing, I don't know if you can see it very clearly or not, but
No,
this is
now we can. Yeah.
this is a Godzilla print that
Ooh.
I attempted. But it's a very different type of Godzilla. This is like Godzilla feeling bad about everything that he's just destroyed, just sitting exhausted and worn out, and just like, God, what am I doing? I'm so
What am I
huge,
doing?
and I don't understand my own hugeness. Like, what is my right? Right? So that
Right. Maybe
existential
he's just
question.
feeling displaced and
Yeah,
feeling so big that okay, I
exactly.
don't know
And
why I did this or what I've done. And
exactly, and it's a question I don't think anyone has ever asked of Godzilla. Like we consider him to
yeah,
be a
this is the
very
first I've
intelligent
seen.
creature, but
Right.
do we really question his emotional intelligence? Do we really question his spatial intelligence, his ability to cognitively think, even though he can't speak words like we do, right?
Hmm.
In every iteration of Godzilla, there have always been close-ups of the face where the emotion is shown through the eye, through a little wrinkle of the
Eyes,
lip, or through like the flaring of the nostrils.
nostrils.
There is
Yeah.
language there. There is information there.
Hmm.
There is so much there, but we don't question it. That's why I love pop culture, is because pop culture nerds are being called nerds for a reason, because they want to dig deeper and find the core information within a thing, the reasoning
Hmm.
behind it, the why of it. So we went from a
Right.
time where the term nerd was an insult to today being a badge of honor, saying, "Yeah, I know more about this than you, bro. Like, come at me."
Hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think even the show Big Bang Theory sort of helped get that into,
It definitely did.
into like the conversation
It-
today. It sort of heroed nerds as a thing. Like,
I think
yeah.
that is one aspect of it, but the other aspect of it also lies in the acceptance of science as part of daily life. So,
Hmm.
like people, for example, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, right?
Hmm.
Or what's the guy's name? Bill Nye, the science guy, and
Yeah. Yeah.
like Rob from MAD or MAD or whatever it is
Oh yeah,
on,
mad.
right? Like, is the idea of explaining science in a very understandable way that led people to realize, oh, so if I know how a thing works, I can use it better, right? I'm not scared of it anymore and things like that. Like you get over your fear of water by learning how to swim. Science is
Swim.
learning,
Yeah.
right? Asking a
Hmm.
question and then seeing whether some hypothesis works or doesn't, to observe what's happening and
Hmm.
to figure out the process of it happening, and then to combine the two and say, because this is happening, or this leads to that, or you can do this with this. Like, it's that kind of exploratory thinking, which is present
Yeah.
completely in
Yeah.
art, by the way, and design, which now people are bridging gaps with, which is why it becomes a lot
Yeah.
easier
Yeah.
to talk to people and share ideas. And even something like, why are people doing a particular thing on TikTok or on
Hmm.
Vine or
Hmm.
any of these other platforms, right? You start understanding the consequences of action, you start understanding the consequences of philosophy and philosophical thought and why we do certain things. I mean, people took something like Facebook, which had a different intention initially, and turned it into a business place. It's a
Yeah.
market now.
Yeah.
Like, you're interacting and doing economics trading.
Hmm.
That can only come from people opening their minds and opening their ideas after they've been presented with information in a very different or interesting way.
Yeah, the bridge, I think what you said about like science and art. I mean, even now when people sort of like there's like so many different things like scientific illustration, botanical illustration, and like
Absolutely.
these kind of fields that have come in, like vehicle illustration. And I mean, that's just in illustration, but there's so much more. Like, now that people are
Absolutely.
bridging the gap, you can find a way to be happy with a lot of things that you like, and you can do all of them together now. So someone who
Absolutely.
loves like plants can, and is really great at illustration can, do that botanical illustration and make a whole career out of it.
Definitely.
And then that's crazy to think about.
Definitely.
Like now.
Definitely. I mean, the future of creative employment lies not with the demand that people have for certain things, but in how you as a creator can identify your niche of the market,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And carve it out for yourself and say, I can satisfy this demand in particular with my
Hmm.
skills, abilities, and materials.
Yeah, like a
Right?
USP in a way. Yeah.
If the demand does not grow, then it is down to you as a creator to figure out, okay, what am I missing here that I can be providing to a larger number of people within my
Hmm.
skill set, or
Hmm.
do I need to increase my or improve my skill set to reach out to a wider audience? Right.
Nice.
Now, I can bring things to the table across the board because I decide to expand my skill set. Right. And as a
Hmm.
teacher, that's also what I do with my students. I'm teaching them how to take certain knowledge and apply it in different ways so they can improve their skill set so that they become more viable as somebody who can provide a service.
Yeah, like I mean, like the student mentioned earlier, she used abstract art in her jewelry design course. I mean, that's really
Exactly.
really cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was
Also,
a
just
simple workshop.
sorry to cut you off. Sorry,
No,
but
no.
if anybody here has any questions to ask Jai, just you can start
Yeah, yeah,
sending
please.
them in now. So then,
Please go ahead.
like
Please
as
go
the
ahead.
conversation goes ahead, we can keep answering the questions. So
Absolutely,
yeah, and
absolutely.
yeah, continue. Please continue.
No, so I mean, that was generally the idea. Like, we're just going in that direction where if you can help somebody grow their skill sets, it's no longer going to be an economy of money, but it's going to be an economy of creative exchange, right? If
Right.
if I can if I can show you a way to do something or teach you how to do something to make you more self-reliant as an educator, then you are going to be more willing to provide me with a service that you are able to execute in exchange
Hmm.
for that education. Right? So
Hmm.
if off the cuff, I'm not a construction worker of any kind, but if I can teach you how to do carpentry, right? When the time comes that I need someone to build me a table, instead of you paying me for teaching you carpentry, I will say you will pay me in the form of a table when the time comes. That barter system
Hmm.
of creative exchange is where it kind of can start going towards now, especially because we've been stuck at home. People are not making money. But then the bigger question arises, what is money? Right?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
is money? Like, if you go back all the way, you're looking at the Dutch really, the Rothschild family really giving us the idea of money as we know it today,
Yeah.
which is why they own so many things and banks around the world. Like that is
Yeah,
very important. You
earlier
have
was
to
all just barter though. Like
exactly,
during our early
and
civilization.
absolutely, and I'm not saying that barter is the only system that needs to be put in place. It cannot sustain everyone and everything. Uh,
Of course.
if we just go down that road, then the use of materials goes for a toss, right?
Hmm.
So you have to find a new system has to be kind of developed that finds a balance between the barter and the cost of something. So I shouldn't be paying through my nose for something that really doesn't cost that much,
Right.
especially when several people can provide it at good quality, right?
Hmm.
So
I feel
these are
like
things to
that's
really consider.
very, yeah, that's really similar to what we at the Creatortoli are kind of promoting in the sense of collaboration and, just sort of learning from other people and their whole sense of, like if the barter thing also in a way works, I guess, but, just
Absolutely,
collaborating with different people, learning from different creative industries, just
absolutely,
going across and, there's so much that can be done that we just want people to
absolutely.
explore that whole side. And
Yeah, and
yeah, I think we
that
have
kind
a
of
question by
yes, I was
Steve.
just going to say that it leads into what Steve
Yeah.
asked is what did the lockdown teach you? And this is one of the things that the lockdown has taught me is that A, we need to rework how the entire creative system works in this country,
Hmm.
especially more than anything else.
Yeah, agree.
Something, another thing that I learned through the lockdown is that mental health needs to be approached in a very different way for this country to
Hmm.
understand it and make changes to it.
Hmm.
It's extremely critical that we figure out how to go about getting people to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
It's very,
Yeah.
very important because we've all been sitting at home, we've all been creating. Like the painting I showed you earlier, like this one, right? I've
Hmm.
titled it Isolation. The video for this is going to be releasing tomorrow on the channel so we can see the entire making process. But there's a reason why I created because over 14 weeks, right, my brain has now come to terms with a certain experience that I've gone through being in isolation. How am I
Hmm.
reacting to people? How am I sitting by myself? Why can I be more productive on certain days and not on others? Like, am I dealing with stresses or anxieties, or how am I interacting with these things? How am I resolving them? Those are things that I've learned through the lockdown. I've learned that people are becoming more aware, but also fear is now a very confusing thing where
Hmm.
we don't know what we're actually afraid of.
Sorry. Yeah.
I think we had another question. I think Kashyap also asked
Yeah.
something, right?
Kashyap asked on. Yeah. He's like, art isn't never about the money, but how important is it to hustle and take your chances?
Oh, completely important. Art is not just about being a creative producer, but it's about being a good business person. You do need
Hmm.
to pay for materials. In fact, I was having this conversation just last night with one of my students from one of our history courses where she has really blossomed into a fantastic artist. And somebody was
Right.
requesting her to make a painting or a set of paintings for her. She had a sense of how much she should ask for, but she just wanted to get a confirmation on that. So she messages me and she says, "So what do you think of this price range? Like, how would you price it and all, given my skill
Hmm.
abilities and all of that?" And I gave her a number, and she's like, "Yeah, this is what I was also thinking of." And I was like, "Great, this girl knows how to value her time and effort and everything." And then when she went back to the
Right.
person and told them the code, the person told her, "But can like this is my budget? Can you do it for this much?" Which
Hmm.
was half of
Yeah.
what she was quoting. And I said, okay, you can meet them halfway maybe and say, I can only do it for this much for this size, or I can offer you a smaller size for the amount you're asking. They came back with, but what if we buy you the canvases? And so I
Okay.
had to remind her, like, no, the quote includes the cost of material, and you have to
Yeah. Yeah.
remind them of that. People always think that
Right.
paying for the material and paying for the time and effort is two separate things, and it's combined.
Not.
If you
It's not.
want a
Yeah.
painting, you have to buy materials. I went through this years ago also where somebody wanted me to paint a mural for them. And I was like, okay, I'll entertain the call. People ask for murals rarely, so it definitely must be something worth checking in for. And the person is like, so the wall is measuring around 30 feet long by 12 feet high, and like it's a really interesting kind of place that we have, and you want to do something nice over there. I'm like, okay, what kind of mural are you looking for? Like, is it something really sparse and light, or is it really heavy, colorful?
Detailed.
No, it's like it's a mix of both. Like color hona chahiye, but it shouldn't be so full. I'm like, okay, great. This is one of those conversations.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, so what's your so this is my quote. I gave them a quote, which was in the vicinity of around I think uh, I think 90,000 to a lakh or something like that. And obviously,
Right.
that was still undercharging given the scale of the wall and the amount of work that was going to go into it. But I was like, if I say too much, then they're going to be like, no, no, no. So I found a nice place to start the negotiations. But I wasn't going into a loss, and I was definitely not undercharging by a massive amount. It was I should have charged them 1.5, 1.6 maybe, but even one is not that bad. It's
Right.
a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
So be thankful for what you're getting for it. And they were in shock, and they was like, 1 lakh? Oh my God, what? I was like, yeah, what did you think I was going to accept? They're like, no, our budget is like, like 7,000, 8,000 rupees. I was like, bro, the the paint
Oh my God.
itself, the paint itself for this kind of a mural is going to cost you like 5,500 rupees. What are you talking about? Am I going to
Yeah,
live on air?
easily.
They were like, no, no,
Oh
we'll
my God.
reconsider, we'll reconsider. I was like, cool, bro.
Oh
And
God.
they were
Wow.
in
This
shock.
is
They were absolutely in shock, and people just don't get it. They're just like, oh my God, what's happening, and this and that, the other, and like, oh no,
this
how are
is
we going to do this? And for artists,
right.
money is something we are never taught to discuss or converse over. So it's something that I
Yeah, very true.
encourage even my young students. Like they'll all tell you, like Rida is in the chat over here, he'll tell you like one of the main discussions I have is always charge your worth. Always make sure you put your worth in, and you always talk about how much is required for a certain thing material wise, and then how much is your
Hmm.
time worth, how much is your effort worth, but also how much is your intellectual property worth. You
Hmm.
have to
Yeah.
understand that and ask for it. You
Yeah.
cannot just be like, okay, we're going to do this and it's going to be fine. Like, no, right? Just, I'm going to hold up
Yeah, you have
one,
to value your work.
two, okay, three, four, and five. Yeah, five works of art. Okay, these
Yeah.
five pieces of art, the material cost alone for them is approximately 1,500 bucks.
Right. Okay.
These are small pieces.
Yeah.
Like each canvas
Hmm.
alone is about anywhere from 140 rupees to like 250 to 300 rupees.
Right.
So five pieces of art, just the canvases, is already hitting 1,500 bucks,
Yeah.
along with paints. And like again, it depends on whether it's a canvas board or it's a
Hmm.
sketch canvas or whatever. But
Uh,
even then, you're raising from 70 bucks all the way up, and it's an insane amount of money. And people don't understand that. So you have to demand it, and you have to give them a clear understanding of what it is they are paying for and why they're paying for it.
Yeah,
So if
I
I'm
think that's
charging,
really
if
important. Yeah,
yeah,
because
I
we
mean,
also
for
were never
whether it's a
taught to how to charge, and then you get
exactly,
scared that, oh, okay, what do they think? I'm some stuck up, person, or I'm trying to act too smart by asking for too much money, and that sort of fear keeps coming, and then people end up underselling their work. And yeah, I think that understanding, okay, exactly what they're paying for, like you said, is really important.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, like if you think about any creative industry, people are willing to bargain, right? Now, I
Hmm.
am a person who, when I go to a vegetable market, I don't bargain. I refuse to. Okay,
Right.
because I know what the cost is going into producing that vegetable, and what each person in the process is having
Yeah.
to take as a cut of that amount. Right?
Hmm.
The farmer himself is spending 50 rupees to grow that stuff, or like just for the seeds alone, just for that small handful of seeds. 50 bucks is going in
Right.
there, but then he has to pay for electricity and water and labor and transport and all of these things, right?
Right.
To grow the thing, just to grow the thing and
Just
get
to
it to
grow.
a
Yeah.
market. Then you have a middleman, then you have the sellers, the transporters in between. There's a reason why we are paying 60 rupees or 70 rupees or 80 rupees a kilo for tomatoes, but the poor farmer is barely getting this much out of it. So if I'm going to go there and haggle with the guy and say like
Yeah.
thoda kam
It's
karke de do, like I'm taking that away from the farmer. So what right do I have to do that and then sit and like as an artist say, no, I'm not going to bargain. Like you have to pay me my full price. If I'm doing that over there, by
hmm.
that logic, I should also be forced into bargaining and
Exactly.
accepting
Yeah.
the bargain. Right now,
Yeah.
when it comes to bargaining for art, it's a non-essential service for consumption. You don't need to eat a canvas
Hmm.
to survive. So bargaining is
Right.
okay. An artist should
Hmm.
understand this. To make the sale, bargaining is okay to a point.
To a point. Yeah.
But
That
you
line you
can,
need to draw the
yeah.
line.
Personally, my line is 20% of the sales price that I'm offering. I'm not
Hmm.
going to go lower than 20%, like cutting out more than 20% of that sales price. If I'm selling it to you for $100, the lowest I will come to is 80 rupees
It is.
and nothing beyond that. Uske baad it's take it or leave it. Because I know the
Hmm.
material cost, the time cost, the effort, the education, all of those costs that have gone into
Effort.
my
Yeah.
ability to make that artwork. Right. So it's important to be open to bargaining to make the sale because you're developing a lifelong customer at that point. But it's also
Hmm.
important not to like drop things down to a point where you're not able to keep making art or producing things or developing things. Right. So
Hmm.
it's very important to just say, okay, इतने में ये मिलेगा, उससे कम
Hmm.
नहीं होने वाला है. That hustle
Right.
has to
Yeah.
happen. You have to push. And I know it's very difficult for all of us to get things out there. So Jerry Saltz recently said something which I really resonate with is just like in every other industry where you have too many people vying for the same roles. In art today, there are too many artists.
Hmm.
Now,
Okay.
what I think I mean by that and what he means by that are two different things. He just thinks that there are too many people entering the market simultaneously to be sustained by the number of buyers out there because
Hmm.
buyers don't exist without education.
Right.
We're not
Yeah.
educating people enough to buy them. My view of that statement is that because we have confabulated, or not confabulated, what am I saying? Because we've uh, combined our view of hobby artists and professional artists,
Right.
the respect for the professional artists has gone down. And so
Yeah.
the
I totally
demand
agree.
for professional work at hobby prices is creating problems,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yep.
Art is
Yeah.
anyway a non-regulated industry. So from that point of
Hmm.
view, if we're not bringing about that distinction very clearly,
Distinction.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though this painting is what uh, 8 by 10 inches, 9 by 10 inch, 9 by 12 inches, right? It's not that
Hmm.
big a painting, but because of my being a professional artist and my livelihood depending on the sale of this artwork, uh, I am able to charge 5,000 or 7,000 for it,
Yeah.
whereas a hobby artist technically should not be able to charge more than 2 to 3,000 rupees for it because that would
Agreed.
barely
Yeah.
like it would cover their base cost
Hmm.
and allow them to partake in more learning to be able to get to a point where the quality of the work allows them to charge that much because they put their focus into it,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Yes, Hriday, the distinction is really required
That
because
is. Yeah.
as
Totally.
as a printmaker, like okay, so I am a printmaker, but my level of expertise is not at the level of certain individuals who do printmaking full time. Printmaking is part of my artistic practice, but I'm not a full time
Hmm.
printmaker, right? So I don't have a print studio and stuff like that where there are a lot of costs involved where I can
Of
produce. So
course.
I can sell my prints for as low as 500 rupees, and that's fine. I think that's fair because materials are expensive, so I am allowed to charge that much, but that's still a piddly
Hmm.
amount to be able to be charged.
Of
technically for the
course.
amount of work that
Right.
goes into it, I should be charging no less than 3,000 rupees for the smallest prints. Like even something like this, right, which is a tiny print, I should charge 3,000 rupees for this. I really should. But I'm not. I'm charging 800 bucks framed for this
Hmm.
because I know that it's not that complex a print. Whereas for its size, this is the same as that. It's almost the same size, right?
Hmm.
Even unframed, because it's a four-color print, I should be able to
Four
charge up to
color, yeah.
4 to 5,000 rupees for this. And because of the fact that I've only created 2 editions of it, one
It's
becomes an
limited
artist
edition,
proof,
so
and there is
yeah.
then only one print because this is a
One.
reduction block, which means every time I'm adding a color, I'm carving more and more out of it until only the outline is left. Which means now
Right. So
I
you've
can
used
never
one
make
block and
another
done
color
it.
version of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
Right.
this
Right.
becomes a unique piece that exists.
Hmm.
There will only ever be these two pieces. Ever. Right. So
Wow.
technically I should actually be able to charge even like 10,000 rupees for it. But will I?
Yeah.
No, because this is not the greatest quality of print that I can also produce. Like I know that for sure. Purely because I did this for a video and just to get myself back into practice and things like that. But
Hmm. Hmm.
if I was a full-time artist doing only printmaking and creating multicolor prints, if you go onto Instagram, guys, please look up hashtag printmaking. Your brains will melt. The quality of work
Yeah.
that exists is insane,
It's mind
which is why
blowing.
I will
Yeah.
never charge for my prints of a certain type unless I reach a
Hmm.
certain level of quality for it. Like when I do these Yoda prints, I'll charge you more for this because this takes a lot of time and effort to be able to produce this,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So even
But
the
I think
t-shirt
all of this.
for this print, I'll charge more for this
Yeah.
than I will for something like the landscape one that I did. There is a difference, and one must understand this when even doing that hustle and promoting one's artwork, a website, social media, whatever you're using. When you're charging for
Hmm.
it, that cost has to be taken into account because you're putting that much effort
Hmm.
into actually marketing the thing as well as
Right.
producing it.
Knowing your worth. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
even in like again like how you were so humble to sort of say that you're right, I don't have enough practice in printmaking, or I know I need to practice this more and get better at something
Absolutely.
for yourself.
Absolutely.
So stuff like that also I think is really important, because you just can't be like, oh, I know how to do this and I'm like the best at it. That sort of attitude
Absolutely.
also is something that comes
Absolutely.
in when you're in doing something, and I think that's really
Completely
like
agree.
really great to hear from you. Um, Also, so I want to ask you this, because you said you started learning through with the School of Vasily Kandinsky, right? And when
Yeah.
you started your learning, so has there been like in that whole art history, Indian art history, world art history, what have been your biggest inspirations, or which artists have sort of been a favorite?
The list is very, very long, so I won't go through the entire list, but I'll give you the
A top
highlights of
few,
it. So,
yeah.
in terms of Western art, I would say Kandinsky, Chagall, Picasso, Matisse, the Impressionists, especially Van Gogh, um,
Of course.
the abstract expressionists in America as well, so Pollock, Rothko,
Hmm.
all of these guys, like really, really were a big influence for me. But coming closer to home, I would have to say Brinda Miller for sure is one of the biggest influences that has been around for me. Um, but also Jahangir Sabawala, Akbar Padamsi, Tayyab
Yep. Yep.
Mehta. Um, I would also have to say FN Souza.
Actually, I was going to point this out because I feel like sometimes when I've seen some of your older works with faces and stuff, I feel a little bit of FN Souza's touch, like that sort of the style of
Definitely,
drawing the eyes and all of
definitely,
that has,
definitely.
been there. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, like,
So
so
this is,
while all of these people have played a very important role in my artistic practice, I do not claim to copy any of them. So even though my
hmm,
abstract style is similar to Brinda's from the point of view of texture and material and color, our way of applying color and doing things is different. Um, my choice of using that style for works is limited, very limited. It really depends on the kind of application of thought that comes in play. And the same goes. Like you've seen 4 or 5 different styles of my work now, and you can
Yeah,
tell that
yeah,
my style is to have multiple styles. It's about
yeah.
storytelling. It's about taking
Right.
the best that I need from those styles and understanding. So again, I will never claim to be copying their styles because I've never attempted to do that. What I've attempted to do is to copy the styles in learning, to understand the
Hmm.
process and the choices. There has to be a reasoning
Yeah.
behind using a particular texture or a finish or a color or a material. Um, and once I've understood that, I've really chosen to apply it in the way I need it, and not to say, okay, I'm
Hmm.
going to make a Sabawala painting. I mean, I teach how to paint like Sabawala and how to paint like Padamsee and how
Yeah.
to paint
Yeah.
like Willem de Kooning and how to paint like Pollock. I do all of that because people want to learn and it's important that they learn how to do that. But the one thing I
Of
will never
course.
do is a copy of their work. So I'll never teach it in the form of
Hmm.
like a color by numbers kind of a thing. Where I'll say that,
Right. Of course.
okay, now we're
Yeah.
going to do like Rothko Seagram's paintings. We're going to do uh, his number 56 or number 30 or whatever, any of those particular paintings, right? I'm
Hmm.
never going to
Hmm.
say, okay, we're going to do an Ad Reinhardt black on black painting and we're going to do it exactly like he did it. I will never claim to do that because it's stupid to do that. That's ripping off
Right.
another
Of
artist,
course.
and I will not do that. I've been asked by people in the past, like, can you make a painting like this? And they've shown me a picture of like
Oh.
an Andy Warhol painting, and I'm like, bro, no. There are enough good quality prints from the estate of the artist that you can afford.
Of course.
Why not just go and
Yeah.
get one of those? Like they're archived, they're a good collector's item to own also and keep in your collection. Why are you asking me to make someone else's work? It's not good practice.
That's wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I've told them instead is, as an artist, if you want something in that style, I can create something in that style, but I'll put my twist
Right.
on it.
Right. Hmm. Hmm.
Right?
Right. So I think like when you like explore different media, explore like different, like the way different materials work, you can choose, okay, for my visual, this is the best way I can go forward with it. This is what
Absolutely.
I think will look best
Absolutely.
with that particular idea.
Yeah,
So I think that's really nice
completely.
because you have a varied choice now. So you can do whatever
Absolutely.
you
I
want.
mean,
You can do mixed media, and I think that's
if
really nice
you
because I think everybody should explore and get
absolutely, I mean,
that.
if you think about it, like I said, I like Chagall's work, right? Marc Chagall. When you look at this painting, the application of paint has been done in the style of Marc Chagall. When you see the bronze paint, strokes in it,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, that application is in the style of Marc
Right.
Chagall. Have I copied a painting of his? No. I've understood why he's applying paint in a particular way to be able to incorporate it here. Edward
Hmm.
Manet,
Hmm. Exactly.
right,
Yeah.
or even Sunil Padwal's use of fluid liquid paint to give a certain kind of shading
Hmm.
or tone. That was something I learned a long time ago when I was creating this work. So when I was applying
Right.
the coating of the yellow strips or any of these, like I was
Hmm. Hmm.
liquefying the paint, having studied that and understood why he did
Why
that to
they
get
do
a
it?
particular
Yeah.
effect. Right, but I'm not
Exactly.
sitting there and
Yeah.
painting a horse's head like him.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
We have a question from
Yeah.
Sridhar.
Do you?
Uh, do you visualize an abstract expression of an
Yeah.
emotion before painting, or is it discovered during the process? Yes and no. So partly you go in saying that I have a certain intention I would like to express or achieve,
Hmm.
but I don't go in saying that this is the composition or this is what I'm going to create that's going to express it that way. That has to unfold by itself in the process of making. But you go in saying that, okay, I would like, for example, with the isolation painting, since I have it here, I'm going back to it repeatedly, but the idea of isolation came before the making of the painting. That was the intent, that I want to represent isolation. Now, how it's going to
Hmm.
turn out or what is going to happen with it is really dependent on being immersed in that creative process and allowing for
Right.
things to happen along the way. You do have certain compositional structures you would like to begin with. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
you do have certain material restrictions you have to work with, and so you can kind of compose an idea of what you would like to get out of it, but to limit it to just that representation means that you're not actually going to achieve what you want. Like this painting
Hmm.
behind me, right? I went into it. Yes, it is a figurative piece, right? You guys can see the whole thing here. It is a figurative piece, but there
Right.
is a conception to it that goes beyond just like capturing the figure in the piece. There is a story there that
Hmm.
one has to immerse oneself into to be able to achieve that. Because as much as there is a figure sitting in the middle, this painting is about the color.
Yeah,
It's about the
yeah,
composition, right? She's sitting in a corner, but she is not in the corner, right? She's gone
yeah.
through so many things in her life and she's come to terms with it. That's why the book on the floor over there says her story, because she is choosing to tell her story now and get it out of her and say that I've lived this, I understand my life with all of this, I have experienced all of these things. It is a part of who I am, but it does not define me any longer. I must
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
fear it any longer. I can go beyond it. I have accepted it. Acceptance leads to growth. Right. So she is
Right.
not in a corner where she's trapped any longer, but she's moved out of the corner. She may be holding her legs up to her chest, but it's not in terror where she's gripped it, crushing herself. It's
Yeah.
just
Right.
comfortable, like, when you sit on a rock or something and you're looking out into the distance from a mountain
Yes, when the
and
me
you just,
time sort of thing.
yeah, you're just kind of comforting yourself in that way.
Hmm.
That's where
Hmm.
it comes in. Right. Hello,
Yeah, this is
Anmol.
a beautiful
Nice
thought.
to have you here.
Yeah.
So the idea is that that fetal position of sorts is a comforting position. Now that all of that construction has to be complemented by color that's telling the story. The starkness of the
Hmm.
blue background, but having a slightly darker blue in the corner over there, right? Like that is showing a sense
Right.
of space and spatial
The
expression that's
dimension
coming
and
through.
the yeah.
Right. The initial start point was I would like to capture a portrait of my friend and her stories and her experience without it being particularly her itself, but that whole journey needs to be captured. How do I
Hmm.
do that? I've not used brown in this painting. I've used bronze, antique bronze color. So there
Oh,
is a
okay.
shine effect to it. There's a gloss to it.
Hmm.
Right. So these are aspects that one has to consider that is going to deliver a certain emotional experience, but you can't go into it saying, this is what I'm going to do.
Right,
It
of
has
course.
to
And
be,
that never turns
here's,
out. Like,
yeah, you have
yeah.
to go into it saying, here's what I'd like to achieve, and now let's see what happens.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to go through it, you have to flow through it, you have to give a sense of like openness and feeling. Like this one is called Nebula because it was meant to capture the expansiveness and the energy that comes from a nebula. I've always
Hmm.
loved looking into space and like learning about space and all those things. To think about this massive floating body of gas that is refracting and reflecting light in such a beautiful way. All these colors are there, different particles are there.
Right.
Our building blocks of life on Earth were born in a nebula somewhere.
Hmm.
Our sun was born in a nebula somewhere. So
Nebula.
to
Yeah.
think about the potential of life, that's what I wanted to express in this. And that's what sits here,
Wow.
right?
That's
It's not about the
really
danger of
deep.
flying
That's
through a nebula or something, but it was just that the possibility of it, right?
hmm.
So when you look at the painting in person, also, you kind of fall into it. You kind of immerse yourself into it. It kind of grows in size when you're looking at it, also, even though it's a really small 9 by 12 inch painting
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
10 by 12 inch painting. So it's like it's not that big, but it grows. And that's exactly what
Yeah.
a nebula does. It grows in size as the gases expand, as explosions occur, right? So
Hmm.
whether it's a figurative painting or an abstract painting, you start off with a concept, an idea of what you would like to express. And then you go on
Yeah.
the journey through it, feeling the emotions, learning about it, experiencing it, and saying, this is who I
Right.
want to be with this painting. This is what I want to go through with this experience.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I can. I just want to add on. Like, there's also I think a thought. Like, for me, like I don't paint on canvas much, but like there's sometimes when I'm just like I just want to leave everything and just paint. You know, some
Yeah,
days because I'm primarily a graphic designer, but like that sort of painting outlet has been really nice because once like some days if I'm just okay, I just visualize something in my head, and I know that okay, canvas
absolutely.
is the best way to express that. So then you just get that out, and then you just have some thought, and then it turns out, at least for me, it turns out to be
Absolutely.
something completely different. but then the whole process of doing it is something that's so really, like, it's so relaxing and really, I don't know, it just like, it leads you where you learn from each time you paint. At least for me, that's been really helpful.
Absolutely. I mean,
So, yeah,
printmaking and
even,
photography do that for me as well. It's the process of doing it more than the outcome.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, just like learning the process of things is also like just, I mean, I don't know. I think this whole talk has just been about learning and exploring. But I mean, that's like
Absolutely.
the basis of life and the basis of creativity. So there
Yeah.
is,
I mean, it all comes
so
down to observation and
yeah.
just seeing what's happening around you, who is around you, why are they around you. For the last
Hmm.
few days, I've been on this kick of listening to podcasts on mythology and philosophy, and just like going back through everything that I've learned and just revisiting Hegel and uh, Kant and Hume and Plato and like just the questions that they ask, the reasonings that they give, and just saying that have I been asking questions like that of the world around me? Have I been considering things like
Right.
that around me to be able to produce art that conveys those emotions or at least captures my process of questioning of the universe?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
One of our biggest concerns as artists is the world around us. What do we see?
Yeah.
Right? And when we represent it on paper, canvas, prints, whatever, digital, uh, we have to ask ourselves, why am I doing this? What is the reasoning
Yeah.
behind capturing this particular thing? Because that leads you to the philosophical question of life, the universe, and everything. Which is why, like, when I read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I fell in love with it just as a concept of a book of what it meant to
Hmm.
question. Right? It's why I have such a big disappointment with the Artemis Fowl movie, but till today, I'm in love with the books.
The book. Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I first picked up that book, I was just like, am I weird to consider what is being spoken in this book as normal when nobody else does it? Right? Owen Colfer talks about fairies as being this sentient civilization living under the ground. And to me, I've never considered human beings to be the only sentient beings on this planet. I believe that that is a
Of course.
fallacy to consider, and it is ego that allows us to think that we are the greatest of all time.
Hmm.
Okay?
Hmm.
Would it be so far fetched for us to think that what we consider to be magic and beyond our realm of understanding uh, to be reality hidden from our view,
Right.
right? We consider all of these mythological creatures like fairies, like centaurs, like elves, like pixies, like dwarves, but we talk about them as though they're everyday business. So would it be so hard to
Hmm.
assume that they walk amongst us or they live amongst us and we don't know? That we might
Yeah.
have pushed them away and given them cause to hide, just like we do within the human race,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Why do I like to paint portraits? It's not because I want to paint portraits of people who live, but just the sheer mathematics of the number of possibilities of people that can exist that we will never meet or may have met at some point and forgotten, right? Every
Hmm.
portrait I paint is a different style, a different finish, whatever it is, a different personality. And that's based on the entire concept of the fact that from the first man to now, there will have been 10 billion people. In my
Yeah.
lifetime,
Easily.
I will only have ever actively interacted with about 50 to 60,000 people. That's pushing
That's
it.
huge.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the time I'm dead, there will have been at least 10.5 billion people on this planet. At least.
Yeah. Easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you consider that and the number of people I will have met, given that small sample size and the differences in their facial features and personalities, I can mathematically combine all of their different bits and pieces and create portraits of people that either lived before my time that I never met, live now
Hmm.
during my time that I will never meet, or will live after I'm gone that I will never meet.
Right.
Valid, real people that could exist. and I will
That's
never
an
have met her.
insane thought. I'm just trying to wrap my head around this whole thought and sort of understand it. But that's I've never thought about it this way. Like that's
Yeah,
really
it's
crazy.
it's fascinating to think. And the thought came to me when I was
Yeah.
looking one day. I was standing on the platform waiting to go to college, and I was just looking at the train, and I was like, so many people on this train. There's just so many
Yeah.
people. And then when I got onto the train finally, where I managed to squeeze in, I saw a sign that said certain number of people for sitting and for standing. So when I went
Hmm.
back home that day, I had looked up the numbers. The average 9-car train in Bombay was rated to carry 1,800 people, but its average
Okay.
passenger number per journey was 4,000 people.
Oh my God. Right.
And that's just a 9-car train. We no longer even fly 9-car trains in Bombay. We now have
Yeah.
12-car trains as a
12 car
standard.
trains. Yeah.
So if you consider that a 9-car train could carry 1,800 people, that's 200 people a bogie. Okay,
Hmm.
that puts you at what 2,400 people for a 12-car train. But in
Right.
actuality, today a 12-car bogie is carrying approximately 6,000 people.
Easily. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
5,000. Let's say
Everyone's just
5,000.
hanging out.
6,000 is a bit too much, but 5,000 people, right?
Yeah.
5,000 people on a train that's meant to carry half that number.
Half.
And
That's
given the fact that any given train I get onto, I will only have been able to interact or see the faces of about 200 people. So even out of the
that's
5,000 people on that train at any given point, I'm only ever seeing the faces of 200 people. So how many faces are out there that I will never see, or
never see.
personalities I will never know, right? And that led to this whole like discovery of how many people have actually ever lived, how many are currently living, how many people you would actually meet in your lifetime, and what kind of work is going to come out of that.
That's
It's
that's
astonishing.
I'm a little like flummoxed right now, just trying to like encompass what you just said.
Absolutely.
I am sure everyone is just sort of like understanding this concept, but that's really interesting. Like
Yeah,
just just that whole idea of thought. I think I'm gonna give this a much deeper thought after this is done.
definitely.
But yeah,
I mean, you can revisit the
I think
buses in a different light.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing with buses though was I had a few people that I saw every day, which I think was really nice because so I did the sketches for around 2 months, a bit more than 2 months. But by the time I think I was 2 months in, people knew who I was. So a lot of
Hmm.
people used to, sit behind me. The conductor knew me because I had this certain bus I would take to work. And the conductor used to come to me every day, be like, okay, what have you made today? So, even a little bit of giving everybody like a little bit of a change to their day, that, okay, there's something
Yeah,
different happening on the bus today. I think that was something that really got me going. So,
absolutely.
that thing was really nice because a lot of old people were there and then I used to draw them and show it to them. Be like, look, I made you, and then they get really happy because someone, took some time out the day for them. So that sort of, I think was really nice. And yeah, I think that's really interesting because even I wanted to sort of have a little diary of all the people I've seen on the bus, and that is, I think, a little bit similar to what you were saying about the whole meeting
Absolutely.
people and this
Yeah.
thing. So yeah,
It
that's
was the
really,
same thing for
really,
me with the
really cool.
gallery hops. So that's one thing I do miss
Yeah,
is not
exactly.
being able to go for gallery hops anymore because of obviously being a full-time educator and being part of a school. So timings
Exactly.
kind of
Yeah.
clash, but it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, I'm glad I was there before when it was on, so I got to learn so much from everyone.
Absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
so I think no, there's no more questions, and I've taken up too much of
Yeah.
your time. So
No,
I
not at all.
think
Not
we
at all.
can. Oh, I have 20 seconds remaining. Okay, so thank you so much for being here, Jai, and thank you so much for enlightening us. I'm sure everyone's going to be thinking a lot after this is over and exploring a bit more. And yeah, all I want to end with is
Absolutely.
saying namaste, guys. Thank you so much, and join us soon on 30th. And may the force